welcome to the official launch of Port Perry's birthday, which has been 150 years in the making. I'm Jonathan Van Bilsen, and I'm standing in beautiful Palmer Park on the shores of Lake Scugog in Port Perry, on what has turned out to be a fantastic day. Today launches the beginning of the sesquicentennial, with 150 ways to celebrate over the summer. I can't begin to list all the people involved in making this event a success, but trust me when I tell you, many people work many long hours during these difficult times.
Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh! As the official town crier of the Township of Scugog, I declare and proclaim Port Perry 150 years old. God save the Queen.
When visiting Port Perry, one cannot help but notice the massive grain elevator at the end of Queen Street overlooking the lake. This amazing landmark of the town has stood here since its construction in 1874, making it the oldest in Canada.
Scugog is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. Today we acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nations. We recognize and appreciate the historic Indigenous connection to this land and recognize the contributions First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples have made both in shaping and strengthening our community in particular, our province, and our country as a whole. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years.
Joseph and his twin brother Joel Bigelow were born in 1829, west of Bradford. They moved to Port Perry and built a small general store on Queen Street. Prior to this, Port Perry was the industrial part of Scugog, and all social and commercial business was done in Prince Albert.
Anin Bojo, Najwe Makwakwe Indijnakas, Chichak Dodem, Wabsushi Dodem, Scugog Minisin Don Jaba. On behalf of Councillor Laura Caldwell, Councillor Jamie Coons, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, we want to acknowledge Port Perry's 150. We wish you nothing but good health, mindful growth and community development, and self-sufficiency and success to Port Perry and to the Scugog Township. The Mississaugas of Scugog Island are the original inhabitants of the place now known as Port Perry in the Township of Scugog. Our oral histories speak of the connection to the Mississauga peoples to these special lands since time immemorial, and our documented history attaches to this area for well over 300 years. We have borne witness to the many changes of Port Perry and the Scugog Township, and we are pleased to remain a strong foundation for this area that we all call home.
Different experiences, different perspectives, different voices, different skills. As a company, they keep us innovative, inquisitive, and dynamic. That's why we've announced a set of workforce diversity goals at Enbridge that will make our team stronger. We believe that diversity and inclusion shape better decisions. And with a workforce that more closely reflects the communities around us, we can strengthen relationships and trust. We're building a more inclusive environment with more women, racial and ethnic groups, Indigenous employees, those with disabilities, and veterans. We're doing it with a plan that includes a refined recruitment approach, more cultural awareness training, professional development and succession, and more supplier diversity. And to drive results, we're tying executive compensation to our sustainability performance. At Enbridge, our people drive our success. And that success is built on a diverse, respectful, and inclusive workplace.
Over the years, Port Perry has suffered from several fires. The first devastating blaze started during a sleepy Sunday night in November of 1883. The source was the Port Perry House Hotel on the northwest corner of Water and Queen Streets. A strong wind from the lake forced the flames westward and wiped out 1/3 of the businesses on the north side of Queen Street.
Your Worship, most esteemed and honored guests, good people of Port Perry, thank you very much for allowing me to bring greetings on this momentous occasion from my husband, Mr. Joseph Bigelow, your first reeve of our newly incorporated village of Port Perry. My esteemed husband has been lately called away on urgent business, and he has asked that I extend to you his most profound regret at not being present on this illustrious occasion. He would not have you think that his new ventures are in any way of a disobliging nature, merely that they are, regrettably at present, consuming of his interests and energies. In his stead, I will do my utmost to represent, with the humblest of sincerity, his greetings and felicitations. Mr. Bigelow and I are certain that this dear, sweet town will continue always to prosper. I thank you for your kind attention and assure you that our family will continue to pray for the safety and well-being of our growing town and all of its citizens.
After much debate about a railroad, the editor of the Ontario Observer newspaper suggested the rails be laid, but instead of using a steam locomotive, a system of horse-drawn railway from Whitby to Port Perry be adopted. Unfortunately, getting horses to cross the ridges was next to impossible, and the idea was abandoned. Finally, in November of 1871, the first train rolled into Port Perry Station.
Happy 150, Port Perry. It is an absolute privilege to represent the community of Port Perry, a town I grew up in. Port Perry is home to one of my favorite Canadian restaurants, the Piano Inn Cafe, where I have the unique honor each year of judging the grilled cheese contest. I also love to stop in at the Old Flame Brewery and have a pint whenever I'm in town. These and so many other local businesses actively give back to our community and help make it so special. Especially during these difficult times of COVID, I encourage you to support our local businesses as much as you can. Port Perry also has a strong arts community and talented artists. In my constituency office, I've showcased beautiful pieces by local artists, and I was also proud to have a sculpture from local artist Tyler Briley dedicated to hang in Parliament to mark the death of a hero from the Great War. Port Perry is also the only town in Canada that has an annual tartan parade and Kirkin of the Tartan. Jack and I love taking part in this important Scottish-Canadian tradition. And I wouldn't miss the annual Veterans in Vets Canada Day Parade, where the town celebrates our country by starting the day with a tribute to our veterans. Through the many challenges of the past year, our community has looked out for one another. That is what makes Port Perry so special, the people. So happy sesquicentennial to the people of Port Perry, the prettiest small town in Ontario.
Located on the northeast corner of Perry and Mary Streets, the Ontario Carriage Works was built in 1874. It was destroyed in the fire of 1884, and the current, somewhat smaller building replaced it. Beginning in the early 1900s, the building changed hands and uses several times. It became home to a Massey Harris dealership, a shoe factory, a lumber yard, a farm equipment supplier, and a textile factory before converting to its more recent use as Port Perry's LCBO in 1976. In 2013, the building was purchased by the Old Flame Brewing Company and became dedicated to telling and preserving the building's rich history. Renovations took 11 months to bring the building back to its original grandeur, and the doors to the brewery finally opened.
Where were you on the evening of October 25th, 1994? That infamous day when Port Perry lost its innocence. Of course, I'm referring to the Bank of Montreal robbery. The newspaper headlines read, "Town in shock after shootout in Plaza."
2 brothers, one a convicted criminal, are facing charges in connection with Thursday night's shooting of 3 police officers, a bank manager, and a real estate agent in Port Perry Plaza.
Mitchell Mickey MacArthur, 42, who had served time for attempted murder and armed robbery, was arrested on Friday along with his brother Angus, 28, in 2 separate raids in 2 homes in Kingston.
The arrests ended a 12-hour manhunt, which began in Port Perry just after 7:30 p.m. 2 bandits opened fire, shooting 5 people, including 3 police officers, after their attempt to rob the Bank of Montreal.
Durham Regional Police Constables Warren Ellis and Mark McConkey were both shot in the head from close range as they confronted the robbers. Neither of the 2 officers had a chance to draw their weapons or even leave their cruiser when they were struck in the head.
Detective Paul Mooey got out of his cruiser and managed to fire 1 shot at the fleeing bandits before he too was struck.
The shooting spree began in the Bank of Montreal when manager Alan Knight was shot in the leg just above the knee after he told the robbers that he didn't know the combination for the bank's vault. One customer, Mrs. Verwoerd, said at that point, "We were sure we were all going to be shot. We thought it was our last day on earth."
A 5th person, Debbie Taylor, 41, suffered from wounds to her shoulder after a stray bullet fragment struck while she was working inside the office of Sutton Group Real Estate, some 400 yards away across Highway 7A. She was seated at a desk typing when the bullets hit the window in which she was sitting in front.
Witnesses say anywhere from 10 to 15 shots were fired by the fleeing bandits. Shell casings and blood littered the parking lot from end to end. Several witnesses were caught in the crossfire and took cover in vehicles and stores.
The suspects fled through the Borrelia Co-op and moments later broke into a major street home, holding Marjorie Pierce, 74, hostage for more than 20 minutes. When her husband Harry returned from a walk, they forced Mr. Pierce to drive them to the Community Memorial Hospital, where they made their getaway in a red Camaro.
And where were you on that memorable evening, October 25th, 1994? The notorious Bank of Montreal robber, who was on parole at the time of the robbery, was jailed and was sentenced to life in prison after being convicted of 4 counts of attempted murder, robbery, aggravated assault, and use of a firearm to commit an offence. In April of 2019, after 25 years in prison, he was granted parole again.
As I said in my book, I'd rather be wanted than had. I did 25 years in Kingston Penitentiary. I ate 4 life sentences for my brother Angus.
Well, in 1994, I hadn't yet had the good fortune to move to Port Perry, but my mother, being a reader, had lots of contacts here, including her own family. So it wasn't very long before I heard from her on the phone, "Did you know there was a shooting in Port Perry yesterday?" And I must confess that it took me aback, but the news was not very long before it spread far beyond the boundaries of this town.
I was traveling into town on Highway 7A, going to the church choir practice, when I hit the lights and saw a police cruiser turning into the plaza with lights on but no sirens. Little did I know until later that if I'd been a few minutes later, that stray bullet that crossed the road into the real estate agent's office could have come through my car.
We made our way home up through Prince Albert after being stopped by the police there. We got to our driveway, opened the door, and I heard our 13-year-old son say from his bedroom window, "It's all right, Mom, I've got you covered." He had his pellet gun after hearing helicopters going over the house for over an hour.
Eddie and Hilda Mitchell moved to Port Perry in the late 1930s and purchased the property at the north end of Water Street, known today as Birdseye Park. Much of their time was spent clearing the land, and they had plans to build a tourist park overlooking Lake Scugog. They built a 30 by 80-foot swimming pool, which opened the following summer. Construction began on the first of 9 efficiency cabins along the lakeshore. To celebrate Port Perry's sesquicentennial, the township planted several trees along the waterfront trail. A mere 7 months after the first fire, another blaze began in the center of Queen Street at the Mansion Hotel, today the site of the post office. The fire consumed every building from Water Street to John Street. It was an insurmountable economic tragedy as the merchants were just emerging from the loss of the November fire the previous year.
I'm Lindsay Park, your local member of Provincial Parliament. It's a pleasure to join you virtually for this very special 150th anniversary celebration. There are so many things I love about Port Perry. I love the little shops and cafes, the beautiful boardwalk along Lake Scugog. I love the vibrant arts and culture scene. I think of Town Hall 1873. And I love the people. Port Perry has a strong family-like community spirit that makes people feel welcomed and cared for. Oh, and we can't forget their love for sports. Hockey, curling, pickleball, and even sport shooting, just to name a few activities. And by the way, I'm so looking forward to hosting another free skate next January before another Mojax game. The warmth of the Port Perry community has always stood out to me, and during these challenging times, the heart of Port Perry continues to shine through. Happy sesquicentennial, Port Perry. Enjoy celebrating one of the best little towns in Ontario.
The building on the northwest corner of Queen and Perry Streets was known as the Curtis Block, named after its builder, Thomas Curtis. The enterprising Mr. Curtis started in the leather and saddlery business in 1854 in Prince Albert, and in 1860 joined forces with John Rolfe in the manufacturing of harness products. When the railroad came to town, Curtis moved into his new building in 1874. Unfortunately, the block was destroyed by the fire of 1884, but was rebuilt. The Township of Scugog honored the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation with a plaque outlining the land acknowledgement. The commemorative plaque will be displayed in the township offices. The railway company was constantly under an umbrella of scandal and controversy. It was poorly built and always in need of repair. The ground was not treated properly prior to construction, and often the locomotive sank into the mud. Due to its difficulty in climbing the steep hills of the ridges, it became affectionately known as the Nip and Tuck. Over the course of its 68 years of existence, it was never able to emerge from its debts. The Port Perry Senior Citizens Club offers activities for your mind and body and the meeting of friends to warm your heart and soul. Founded in 1963, the group meets at the Latcham Centre, which was built in 1972 and donated to the residents of the village of Port Perry by Arthur Latcham. The Seniors Club enjoys many activities including crafting, an art club, and monthly potlucks, which include entertainment. Activities such as line dancing, wood carving, and an annual bazaar showcases the talents of members and helps raise awareness and funding. Christmas is a especially busy time for the seniors group, and bus trips whisk folks off to exciting destinations. Events such as wine tasting and cruising on some of Ontario's prettiest lakes are always fun. The group is made up of volunteers, and the members certainly take volunteering up a notch. The Port Perry Seniors Club, an organization for the young at heart.
Hi, I'm John Henry, Chair of Durham Region. It's no secret that Port Perry has a reputation. It's one of the best and most picturesque small towns in Ontario. A place famous for its niche downtown and stunning lake views that rejuvenate the body and the mind. It's a town inspired by its history, a showcase of Victorian architecture blended with modern design, home to some of Canada's most talented artists. People almost feel their inspiration in the air. Congratulations to Port Perry on this major milestone, 150 years since joining the Township of Scugog. On behalf of the Region of Durham, I applaud the town's continued strength and resilience, its dedication to helping families thrive, and its dedication to partnerships that can help propel local success for decades to come.
Joseph Bigelow's wife, Elizabeth, felt her house was no longer up to her standards. Being a prominent lady in the town, it would not do to have a house on the Merchant Street. During the 1870s, the Bigelows moved their residence to 100 Perry Street. The house still stands today and was recently renovated to become a very modern dwelling within the confines of the historic shell.
Today, we are coming together to acknowledge and celebrate Port Perry's sesquicentennial, our 150th. Deputy Mayor, Regional Councillor Wilma Wanton took on the challenge of leading an initiative to recognize this special milestone in Port Perry's history. A group of incredible volunteers stepped forward to join and bring a positive focus for the community. I would like to extend my deep appreciation and gratitude. On behalf of Council and our community, thank you to them and to those who have offered their time and their resources. This team, once established, immediately got to work designing a year-long celebration. They have developed 150 ways to celebrate Port Perry. You will find an array of safe, fun activities and contests that reflect our history and appreciate the unique things we offer. There are also a variety of special local offers from our retailers and our restaurants. You are key to our community and make this place what it is, our home. Join the celebration. Enjoy the glimpse of past through the historic photos being shared in the community. Happy 150th Port Perry.
Not everything in Port Perry happened in the 1800s. The town is continually growing and expanding, especially in the business sector. Businesses such as the Port Perry Dairy Bar, located on Water Street in the 1950s, became Pizza Delight and Rooster's Barbecue Chicken in 1988. Sadly, the building burned down in 1999, but was quickly replaced with the current building, the home of the Perfect Scoop, Gelato and Ice Cream.
Ted, I was wondering if you have any funny stories to share about the business community in Port Perry.
Yes, we, as member of the Chamber of Commerce, we went to council to act with our idea. And our idea was to cover the main street over and park the cars up on top, and then the people could walk underneath and go to the stores, like they did at Oshawa Shopping Center. So anyway, we presented our ideas to the council, and they laughed so hard at us, and I'll never forget J.J. Gibson, who was the mayor. He laughed so much, he almost fell off his chair.
Lake Scugog is an artificially flooded lake and lies between the communities of Port Perry and Lindsay. The lake has been raised and lowered several times over its history. Though not technically part of the Kawartha Lakes due to its shallow depths, it is often geographically linked to them. Its sole outflow, the Scugog River, connects to Sturgeon Lake and then forms part of the Trent Severn Waterway. The Port Perry 150th Birthday Committee decorated various parts of Palmer Park. In 1863, Joseph Bigelow tore down his existing building and replaced it with a giant 3-story structure known as the Royal Arcade. The business expanded to include clothing, medicines, hardware, a post office, and a branch of the Royal Canadian Bank. This undertaking was very successful, and Joseph became Port Perry's first postmaster.
My name is Ahmad. I'm from Syria, and I moved here 4.5 years ago. When we came here, they gave us the biggest and nicest welcoming, and they still welcome us to this day. And I want to thank all the people in Port Perry for standing with us and helping us out starting over new things.
Samuel T. Cocker moved his meat market to the Purdy block where now Brock's department store is located. Cocker moved to Port Perry from England in 1869. He was one of the first businessmen to begin life here by operating a butcher shop. He operated his meat stall part-time from the market building and spent part of the year running a beef cart where he sold first-class meat door to door.
In many ways, one of the most unlikely residents of Scugog to become famous was James Llewellyn Fries, a farm boy from Scugog Island. This unassuming young man went on to become one of Canada's most famous characters during the early part of the 20th century. Jimmy Fries, as he was best known, became a household name with his Bird's Eye Centre cartoons in the Toronto Star Weekly during the 1920s and 1930s, a feat he accomplished without one lesson of instruction in the world of art. Jimmy was born on a small farm on Scugog Island, overlooking Lake Scugog and Port Perry in 1891, the only child of John and Hannah Fries. He grew up in the village of Seagrave and attended school in Port Perry. His artistic talents became evident at an early age as his school books were covered in sketches, many of which were the early etchings of Old Archie and Pigskin Pete, two characters from Bird's Eye Centre who became folklore across Canada. While working at the Toronto Star Weekly, he also illustrated articles and books with columnist Greg Clark. In 1947, both Fries and Clark left the Star's employ for a variety of reasons. When the Star refused to give up copyright to Bird's Eye Centre, Fries created the fully colored Juniper Junction for the Montreal Standard before dying suddenly in 1948. He was often asked the location of the town he was portraying in his cartoons, and he would answer, "Any Canadian village with a hotel, gasoline potation, barber shop, and a town pump." Nevertheless, many people in the Scugog area felt that the characters and situations that he portrayed were taken from locations around Port Perry. Even at the top of his career, Jimmy never forgot his roots back along the shores of Lake Scugog. He returned often to spend time with old friends and family and spoke to local groups about his career as a cartoonist. He was a lover of the outdoors and spent a great deal of time fishing and hunting. In 1981, the production of an original play based on his artwork was a bicentennial project of the town of Port Perry, Brilliance Community Theatre, Town Hall 1873, and the Scugog Memorial Public Library. The play was written by Les Parks and Zoe Allen and was entitled Bird's Eye Centre. The music was composed by Paul Chilko and Geordie Beer with arrangements by Eva Hunter and lyrics by Zoe Allen. The proceeds from the theater presentations went towards building Port Perry's then new library. And now, here is a scene from the play entitled The Robbery.
This is as much a crime as anything. Orders is orders, and folks don't appreciate the seriousness of this situation.
Well, I can't help you, Chief. I just ain't safe.
You know anything about this?
No, sir, not me. I just got here. I know nothing.
What is it? What is it? I think there's been a crime committed.
Oh, a crime, you say? Somebody been robbed?
A robbery? Oh, how exciting.
A robbery at the Bird's Eye Centre.
Gracious, no. Who on earth would do a thing like that?
Oh, we expect that kind of thing in the big city, but I always thought folks would be safe here.
The vicious criminals. And right here in Bird's Eye Centre.
Ooh, it gives me the willies.
Calm down. There ain't been no robbery. Somebody's up and stole the fire hose. The fire hose belongs to the fire hall. Orders are orders. And I don't care how dry it is, it ain't meant to be lawn watering. Orders are orders, and everyone knows it.
The fire hose?
Well, I took the fire hose the other day, but then I gave it to Ned Jeepers.
Oh, Ned? Ned don't have it no more. He gave it to Archie.
Archie hasn't had it since Tuesday. What about Pete?
I wonder if it could be Ed Keever. I saw him watering the petunias with the other day.
Dang. We better have a bylaw about this. I'm going down to town council. People have to show proper respect.
Respect.
Get the mayor. Bring out proper respect.
Yes,
You never know who'll live with us dealing.
To mark this special occasion, a contest was held to create a flag which best symbolizes the makeup of Port Perry. The winner was Rebecca Rains, who created an amazing perspective of our town. In Rebecca's own words, "Ever since I was young, my parents have taught me the local history of Port Perry, which led me to exploring my roots and heritage. I learned a great deal about what makes this town a thriving success, and that became the center for this design." From the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, to the early farmers and millers, to the development of the downtown core and waterfront, all key points in the history that created the fundamental foundation of Port Perry. Let us now watch as Rebecca raises the official Port Perry sesquicentennial flag which she designed.